So, Rúben Amorim spoke to the press ahead of Manchester United versus Aston Villa at Old Trafford, which is the Premier League final day game. And it's just kind of like a reaction after the Europa League loss. And it's still hurting. It's still hurting to this day. I mean, all of the other questions in the press conference were around basically the Europa League final and the emotional fallout, transfer rumors, what one person said and what the other person said. The whole thing about like past players, present players, and all of that. So the annoying thing about this is you could hear the press conference and you will know that they were not even focused on the game, even though it felt like the Villa game was a nothing game for Man United. But then there were no questions surrounding the game, and Amorim kept pushing them back like to the game, you know. But we're going to just kind of break it down, and then I'll just give you some other things from the part 2 of the press conference that I figured out, and then we're going to take it to the next level. First, the first question was around the emotional fallout from the final. And one thing I noticed after the final is that the press were not focused on Aston Villa. I mean, they were not focused on Tottenham Hotspur who won. They were focused on Man United. And that's why after the game, all the interviews were around Manchester United players. No, like you could see like only 2 interviews for the Spurs players, but everything was around Manchester United players. And the thing is, what the press did was they cornered majority of the Man United players to different interviews, and all of them were saying different things. And what you could see is that the more experienced ones, the more, you know, grounded ones were speaking and acknowledging the fans, while the others, players like Garnacho, was busy saying bad about the team and the manager and disrespecting the team. But that's a story for another day. But Amorim opened up about how tough the loss to Tottenham was, reiterating that United were the better team on the night and more chances, and had more chances, but suffered from a decisive moment just before halftime. And the moment he said that, the moment we conceded before halftime, it felt like, you know what, there was no way to come back in the second half because obviously they are going to defend. And then also, based on that, this was in reflection to his mentality insight. Now, his reflection shows that there's an emotional honesty and a frustration, but also a refusal to pin the blame on players or luck. He's trying to learn and to grow from the pain, and he says he feels the pain that everybody is feeling. Also, on the next part of the questions, it was around Bruno, Garnacho and the dressing room dynamics. And on Bruno Fernandes and the transfer links to Al Hilal, Amorim was very cautious, stating that the club has a plan whether they are in the Champions League or not. On Alejandro Garnacho's controversial social media activity, including the conversation between, the Instagram post of his brother and the comments he made post Tottenham Hotspurs, he didn't criticize the player publicly. Instead, he said, "I will speak with my players." Basically, it's just all about man management. Amorim avoids inflaming tensions, and his diplomacy signals leadership, but he also protects players publicly while hinting at private accountability. And that is what sparked outrage in on social media when people picked a section of Amorim's comment and focused on it. Meanwhile, post-match, he said something, and he said it could go both ways, with basically how Mason Mount could have affected the game and also how Garnacho could have affected the game. So he said it could go both ways, referring to Garnacho's big chance miss in Bilbao. So it is what it is. And that was basically about, I think, the first leg. Now, number 3, one of the things that they asked him was around the morale, recovery, and the one last push, which is the last game of the season. He was asked how he and the squad can emotionally recover. And he said it's really hard. Amorim said it's really hard and we hope that we could win something. Yet, he's urging everyone to focus on finishing strong in front of the fans versus Aston Villa. And this is basically what Amorim was trying to draw the press to, the immediate focus. And he doesn't want to let the future dominate the present. He's also, his mantra is finish strong and then reset. And obviously, that's what the news that we're getting from the club, even though there was absolute silence after the only thing we were hearing were only about the redundancies that the ownership wants to do. But with regards to time, process, and building like Aston Villa, he praised Unai Emery's Villa project as a benchmark, a club that's stable and consistently challenging for the top four. He admits that United's rebuild will take time, and he avoids setting deadlines, saying, "Sometimes we don't know. Things can change fast." And that is what means that patience is required, and Amorim is setting expectations carefully. It's not about quick fixes, but also sustainable progress. And then on the transfer window and the club's overhaul, Amorim admits that this 6-month spell was brutal. Mid-season arrival, system overhaul, and a mass internal restructuring. But he also says now is the exciting moment. We can now change something, which is what he's looking forward to the summer, right? And the turning point mentality is what the focus was on this one. And he also believes that the worst is over. The suffering has revealed what needs fixing, and he's eager to act in the summer. Considering that we have a budget, but it is what it is. Sales might also increase what the budget would look like for the summer. And there's already a couple of players that are already going to be on sale. And then with player evaluation and Luke Shaw's comments, on Luke Shaw's comment, when asked about how many players are good enough, Amorim resisted naming names. He says, "We want to finish in a good way, and we are going to assess the squad after." No snap judgments, and Amorim is staying cool. No emotional reactions to one game. Player evaluations will be based on the full season, not just the final. So it's pretty straightforward, and Amorim is kind of trying to be diplomatic and trying to avoid, naming names and name calling and all of that. And then he said the press asked him a question about whether he would have started in the summer than just coming mid-season. 6 months ago, Amorim said that he'd preferred to join in the summer. But now, I'm really glad I arrived 6 months ago. We're going to avoid a lot of mistakes next season. There's a strategic advantage, and he's used to the traditional period of reconnaissance. The club overhaul is already on the way, and he's better prepared for what comes next. And I think that is a good thing to see. I think Ineos made that decision and try to make it quick, and then to see if we could start building ahead of next season. And okay, these are the problems, let's fix it. And then with regards to the Europa League final, he said Europa League final didn't change his view of players. Amorim clarified that the final didn't change the evaluation of the players, but it did change the planning and logistics, right? He says with no Champions League, fewer games mean different rotation needs, right? He's focused on okay, we don't have to rotate so much. We have to now focus, and we don't have those midweek games, which means we have to focus on the team and tactics, which brings us to tactical implications. And he says he expects a leaner squad next season, fewer competitions, tighter core group with less rotations, which would mean that he would focus on trying to compete in the league as well as in the cups. So we have only 3 competitions to focus on: compete in the league to try to qualify for Champions League next season via the league, and then also try to win the cups as well. So with that, it's easier for you to just focus. I mean, look at Crystal Palace. They didn't challenge. They got to 12th position, but they won the FA Cup, and look at that. They're already in the Europa League. So final thoughts. Amorim's tone was very raw but resilient, and he acknowledged the pain of the final loss, refused to blame individuals, showed clarity of vision for summer plans, maintained emotional balance, shielding players from public backlash, positioned himself as a builder, not just a firefighter. So based on what to expect with regards to United versus Villa, and I said this at the top of the show, that the press never asked Rúben Amorim anything, only one question, anything regarding the Villa clash. Even in the part 2 of the press conference, they never asked him anything regarding the Villa clash. All they were asking him were things around, or what the player said, what happened in the final, what are you going to do next season, blah 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 blah. And I like that. I expect that. But what I think should have been the focus is, okay, what are you going to do with Villa game? What do you expect? Do you want to win? And all of that. I'm hearing stuff like, oh, are you going to do a lap around the field? It is cultural that you do a lap around the field. Are you going to talk to the fans? And obviously, we all know, Amorim knows this. You don't need to start telling him things that he's going to do. Just trying to get words out of his mouth and try to put things in his mouth as well. But it is what it is. Amorim wants to finish the season on a very positive note, as he stated in the press conference. While the summer will bring answers to many big questions, Sunday is about giving the fans hope, restoring some pride, and closing the top-line campaign with professionalism. Obviously, in the last 5-6 games, we haven't won any game. I think we've had only one draw in the last 5 games and 4 losses. So it's very important that, Amorim tries to, end this on a positive note and end this losing streak, so that we can actually go on tour, 2 games in Malaysia and then back, and the players are on holiday. They'll calm down and watch the Club World Cup and the UEFA Super Cup and all of that, and eventually we shall now build towards next season. So it is what it is. So let me know your thoughts and feelings about this. Let me know your thoughts and feelings about Amorim's press conference. I know that this feels like a nothing game for Man United. Whether we win or we lose, obviously we're going to be 16th or 17th. If possible, if we come closer, it will be 15th. But that's a very bad place. 2 places off where Erik ten Hag left us. But let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section, and let's continue to build together. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as it relates to Manchester United. We're building a community. We're growing. We're trying to reach a milestone. So let's get there. Let's hit the milestone, and then we can build for next season and to come back stronger. So let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Goodbye, and God bless.